Hello, everybody. Apparently, my name is Mike Barr, and my story is entitled "Everything I Needed to Know About Life I Learned from Stucco." Before I start, I have to say I was informed that Mr. Roche's favorite word, for some reason, is the word stucco. Is that correct?
That's right. Since last week.
So my story goes something like this. God damn it, Barr! What are you doing? Well, what I was doing in the summer of 1993 or 1994 was hanging out high in the Colorado Rocky Mountain air on some scaffolding overlooking the idyllic mountain town of Crested Butte, Colorado. And the reason I was doing it was for the money, of course. The view was nice. And I was a stuccoer, a master of stucco, an artisan of the mud. I was involved in exterior synthetic organic insulation systems, commonly referred to as stucco. Stucco is much more complicated than one might think. Stucco is working with tape and thick layers of foam, fiberglass mesh, various kinds of mud, and finish, which is a very special type of mud that contains various sizes and types of granite flakes. Am I paying you to sit around and look pretty? Teddy was my boss, and I've got to tell you about Teddy. He'll feature prominently in this tale. Teddy was a complete enigma and an irony and a contradiction of a man. He was short and stout and stocky and angry all the time and lovable and faithful. You could trust your life to Teddy, and his anger management problem was the size and width of Canada. He was altered a lot of the time, and he was very lovable, and he was very wise, and he was uneducated. He was a hick from Tennessee. He was the master of stucco in the summer. In the wintertime, he was a ski patroller, and he took young, educated, unexperienced people like me and turned them into real men through his art. Teddy was a bow hunter. He was meticulous and articulate and profane and chaotic and angry. And much later, many years after I moved on, I heard that Teddy finally tackled and became free of his dual addiction to rage and weed, and became what he really was the whole time, which was a tender, loving, caring person, devoted family man, and an artist in his little way, an artist. So, stucco, well, I suppose the title of my story was Everything I Needed to Know I Learned from Stucco. I'm sure I'm not going to follow the first story or teller much, because I'm not really a storyteller. I'm not a performance artist. I'm just a guy who walked in off the street. But I learned some very important life lessons in that well, the first several months, and then the several months that followed, and the following summer. For several months, I loved and hated my job, and I loved and hated my boss, and I worked with the mud. The first thing I learned that I tell people all the time, I still use it all the time, I'm sure most of you in here already know this, half of life is just showing up and wearing the right clothes. Half of success, you will rise to the top of your profession if you do those two things. I've never been fired from a job, and I think one of the main reasons is I show up and I wear the right clothes. I don't know what a storyteller or a performance artist is supposed to wear, but
That's it.
the rumpled linen shirt, the old Doc Martens, the
You got a hat?
wet hat,
All right.
and a trowel, ladies and gentlemen. Lesson number 2 is always bring the right tools. Tools are important. You'll never get anywhere in life if you don't have the right tools. This is a trowel, and it's an old dirty trowel. Teddy would rip me to shreds if he saw my trowel. A clean tool is a happy tool. A clean bike is a happy bike. A clean towel is a happy towel. Clean AK-47 is a happy AK-47. Cleanliness is important. If you have a clean trowel, it shows you have pride in your work. If you ever see a good chefs don't have food all over them. Good chefs keep their kitchen whites clean. But bring the right tools. Teddy told me, if you want to be a man, I got to get into his accent. Part of the reason I wanted to tell this story is I wanted to imitate Teddy. You ought to get yourself a tool belt. Every man's got to have a tool belt and a hammer. You need a hammer, preferably a 20-ounce S-wing all-rounder. Framing hammers are too big for most jobs. Good old hammer. The man was right. I still have that hammer, I still have that tool belt, and I still have a trowel. I used this trowel almost 20 years ago. And it served me well, so have all the other tools I came across in that job. Show up, wear the right clothes, bring your tools, look like you know what you're doing. Everybody knows this one. Do something. Keep moving. Yeah, I learned that early, and I found if I work in an office or in a factory or anywhere I find myself working, do something. In the restaurant business, they always say, don't go anywhere with your hands empty. Carry something in both directions. You know, do something. Keep moving. Do what they do. Follow the leader. We did a lot of that, and I learned a lot that way. You know, I think if I could, and I still do, try to be teachable, to try to open my mind enough to just do what they do. Sometimes it works out. You know, stucco is much more complicated, as I said, than you know. There are roughly 7 layers of stuff between the building and the mud on the outside. As I said, keep moving, keep doing something. I got to tell you about part of the process of stucco. You spend more time on preparation than execution, and I think this goes for a lot of other things as well. The wood of the outside of a building is usually plywood. On top of that plywood, you put a nice thick layer of glue, and then you put a big thick layer of, this is the exterior insulation system I was talking about earlier, a big thick layer of foam, and use a very thick thing called a rasp to file down the foam to make it perfectly smooth where the pieces come together. They must be cut absolutely perfect. Measure twice and cut once, ladies and gentlemen. Measure twice and cut once. There's a very good way to internalize this. I internalized this one day by wasting about $100 worth of material, watching a grown man have a temper tantrum, having my pay docked and dodging a bucket. Measure twice and cut once. After the foam is completely smooth all the way around, make sure those corners are perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know the measure of an artisan, watch the corners. Look at his corners. Details, details. Put a layer of mud and thin fiberglass mesh, and then you're getting ready to do finish. This all takes a couple of weeks to get the outside of a building ready for finish. Finish is over and done with in 30 minutes. Happens real fast. Here's another thing about running finish that's very interesting. I didn't tell you about scaffolding, but I suppose it's a good time to talk about scaffolding. Preparation, a lot of preparation goes into scaffolding. I was a scaffolding expert. This is another thing I learned early on. Learned in that job in my early 20s. I've tried to keep that in mind too. Find your niche. You know, I've got to find something I'm good at. If you find something you're good at, you can remain useful and important to the operation. So I like building scaffolding. It's one of the biggest toys a little big little boy can play with. It's a big, huge thing. It covers a building. Scaffolding's great. It's a lot of fun. You get to level things out, and it has to be done really well if you happen to be carrying 80-pound buckets of very, very expensive specialty mud up and down 5 floors. These are big, huge buildings we were working on, and running finish on a building is a blur of activity. It's absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. It's, as I said, Teddy was an artist, a vulgar one, but he's an artist, as many are. And running finish is 10 people on a wall, top to bottom, completely organized. 5:30 in the morning, you got to do that stuff before the sun touches it. Everybody's in unison. You've got spreaders, you've got smoothers, you've got people carrying gophers, and finish people, beautiful, beautiful, clean trowels, in the zone, in a trance, figure eight, light, touch it light. You gotta keep the wet edge. God damn it, keep the wet edge, bar! The wet edge is the zone. As the mud goes on a wall, the ball's 40 feet tall and it goes all the way across, $1 million building. The wet edge is the zone where the mud has been on the wall. The spreaders spread the finish. The finish man in the zone. Don't talk to him. Right below him, there's another one. Right above him, there's another one. There's a line of finish guys doing this. In the zone. Don't look at him, don't talk to him. But you got to keep the wet edge because you can only touch it for a certain amount of time. Once the wet edge is gone, you can't touch it anymore. It's on there. 3 minutes, move on. You're done with it. You've done what you can do. There's only a limited window of opportunity to get it right. After that, you're stuck with it. Leave it. Move on. That's why being in the zone is so important. After it's there, you got the pattern, keep going. This is a beautiful lesson in life. Keep going. Doesn't matter what happens. Just keep going. Do something. You know, many of these lessons took years and years and years to sink in. And another one that I really like, and this is a good opportunity to imitate Teddy again, is you gotta watch your back. Watch your back. Pay attention. Know what's going on around you. One time I was playing around with my friend Mark. Mark was a brilliant guy, but a little bit clumsy, bit of a mess. Not much of a manual laborer, Mark. I said to him, Mark, you know, if Teddy was here, he'd say, God damn it, son, get some of that shit on the wall. What are you, Jackson motherfucking Pollock or something? Well, unfortunately, Teddy was there. Teddy was right behind me. Bar, I gotta see you in the truck, he says. Knees a quiver, I followed Teddy to the truck, cowering, my best cower, big, lanky, funny-looking Texan and a little short, stocky Tennessee ski patrolman. Get into the truck, yes, Teddy. Sorry about that. As soon as the door slams, he lets out a howl. That was good, I'm gonna have to use that one myself. He says, reaches in his bag for his little titanium one-hitter and says, you gotta tell the boys I chewed you out over this. Yes, sir, yes I will, yes sir, that's right. And on we went. Teddy was very lovable in his way, and that's another thing about his delivery is it's not really what you say, it's how you say it. You know, am I paying you to sit around and look pretty? That's a compliment. That's a nice thing to say. It's something about the deliveries and the irony and the twinkle in the eye. You know, it's not really what you say, it's how you say it. You know, I idolized Teddy in a certain kind of way, and I learned so much from him. It's been amazing to touch base with him many, many years later and see that we've evolved in our little ways and incorporated these little building lessons into our life. So I appreciate this. Thanks.